this is going to be the start of my next 50 states vlog. In this vlog, I will at minimum be covering Alaska. I haven't decided yet how I want to do these vlogs, if I just want to do each state at a time. Because in the last vlog, those two states ended up taking up about an hour roughly. So I think for the first couple of ones, we're really going to be playing it by ear. In the last one with Alabama, I had one that I wasn't physically reading, I was just listening to the audiobook. And I had Looking for Alaska, which I was reading in tandem. I am so sorry if you can hear my older cat. She has gone into heat. It's a little bit annoying, but we're doing what we can do. So for Alaska, I have chosen The Great Alone by Kristen Hanna and The Smell of Other People's Houses, who I cannot remember the author right now, but as always, I'll have them up on the screen. Now, before I get into the individual readings of these books, I have started both of them, and it's very interesting because I'm quite a bit further along in Smell of Other People's Houses than I am in The Great Alone. I have just started The Great Alone, whereas I've been reading The Smell of Other People's Houses for a few days. So I will say it's interesting because when I was reading the books for Alabama, they were two totally different genres, two totally different types of books, and we're following two totally different types of people. You know, in one we are following Sybil and her dealing with some serious things happening to the underprivileged, and in Looking for Alaska we are following a group of high school students who are coming to terms with things and dealing with grief amongst a myriad of other things. Whereas these two books, I'm really just getting into them, so it's hard to really say what they're about. But the tone in both of them is very similar, and where they are is brought up a lot. Whereas when I was listening to Take My Hand and Looking for Alaska, in Take My Hand, she makes many references to Alabama, specifically Montgomery, and discusses a lot of the things that are going on, not just what's physically happening, what she's seeing, but also the scenery, changing of the seasons, the way things are laid out, all of that kind of stuff. Whereas in Looking for Alaska, we're mainly at the school and like various other, like we're at Pudge's house, which is not even in Alabama. We're at the Colonel's home, which is a trailer park not too far from the school. Or we're at the McDonald's, which is down. Everything is really centered around this school in Birmingham. So there isn't much about actually Alabama. It is very heavily focused on A, the school as the setting, and B, the characters in the book. So you could definitely like write this for really anywhere with a similar climate, and this book could be taking place anywhere. Whereas in Take My Hand, it being in Montgomery, being in Alabama is kind of a critical part for the story. Granted, the story could be set anywhere in the southeast, I suppose, but I would say it does really add to the story. So far, both of these books I believe are taking place in different times, because I think one takes place around the time where Alaska becomes a state, and the other one is taking place, I think, in the 1970s. But I don't know, the tone seems kind of similar. The dynamics seem kind of similar. I'm really interested to see how they both develop and grow into their own stories, or if they're going to be similar throughout. So I have started The Smell of Other People's Houses, and I already hate the grandma. I think I'm about maybe 10% to 15% of the way through. It's already a little bit hard to read, just because of what's happening. Like our main character, it's her and her sister Lily. I think her name is Ruth or something like that. The story kind of starts right around the time where Alaska is becoming a state. So she's actually born before Alaska is the 49th state, and shortly after it becomes part of the United States. I found it interesting to read about the pushback and the way the people in Alaska felt about becoming part of the US and how they felt they would be disregarded and things would change. And so it was very interesting seeing that, because I have my own cultural upbringing that's very similar. As many of you know, Hawaii is the 50th state. My grandparents were actually born before it was even a state. So there's a lot of that similarity, and also the history of the US with Hawaii is very tumultuous. I won't get into it here. Perhaps when we come to Hawaii as a state, I will get into it then, but it is a very long and arduous, complicated history. If you're curious, I would suggest you do your own research, because if you're unaware of the things that have been done, it would be a great time to educate yourself if you care to know. I would say that there are a lot of similar sentiments. Obviously, I don't think it's quite as big, like quite as dramatic or traumatic with Alaska becoming a state, but I don't know. I didn't live in Alaska at the time. I don't have any family or knowledge of that history, and in fact I think that's something that I'm going to educate myself on going forward while I'm reading these books, because I think that's interesting. I love learning about history. It fascinates me regardless if it's a positive or negative history. I still am very curious and would love to know those things, and I will admit that Alaska, it becoming a state, all of that is something that I know very little about. So at the start of this book, like I said, we are coming into Ruth, her family. Her mom is pregnant and is going to have the baby soon, and her father is actually like trying to help and keep Alaska from becoming a state. So there isn't too much really said about either of her parents, and some tragic things happen that leave Ruth to be raised by her grandmother. Now, I really hate the grandma at this point, because she is like seeming to me to be a very overly religious person and just like quick to temper. And that is something that I dealt with growing up, is someone being quick to be angry about things. You know, we're dealing with kids. And I also don't like when someone, especially a female caregiver, tries to destroy self-esteem in other young girls, women, you know, anything. That is a huge breaking point for me. And one of the things that happens very early on that we're told about in the book is Ruth goes to a dance class, I think ballet, and she's so excited and happy, and she thinks she just looks so cute and sweet in her tutu with her beautiful long hair. And she looks at herself in the mirror, and another mom compliments her, and the grandma's like, "Oh, you think you're just the best thing, don't you?" And takes her into the bathroom and chops off all her hair. At that moment, I hated the grandma, and she has not redeemed herself since. Now, granted, I'm not very far into the book, so we'll see, but I can't imagine my feelings changing very much for this woman. Oh, that just really, it irks me, and it's like, if I had been another person there, I would have said something to her and possibly took the scissors to her own freaking hair, because I cannot stand that. That is a huge trigger for me, is people cutting off young girls or even women's hair. Like, I don't know why that's never been done to me or anything like that. So that's not my trauma to bear, but it does trigger me. I know it happens a lot in literature. It happens a lot in movies, you know, and I just, that it really just upsets me, and I really hate it. Like, I have such a strong reaction to that. After that happens, we're picking up basically 10 years later. Her and her sister Lily are, you know, living their life with their grandma in a very poor area of town in like a trailer park. And, you know, life goes on. She has a little boyfriend, and the point we're at now is the boyfriend's mom walked in on them. So that should be interesting. Her best friend is kind of like aloof and doesn't like really realize that her life is very different from other people, especially in this area. And yeah, there's just a lot of things happening. It's basically just setting up the scene for whatever else is going to happen. I am curious as to why this book is called The Smell of Other People's Houses, other than, like, is she going to describe everybody's house, like, the way they smell? Because she's already done that for her own homes, because she did that for the home that she lived in with her parents. She's done it for the home that she lives in with her grandma. And she's done it for her boyfriend's house. So I'm just curious, like, I'm curious to know if that is a, like, what is the relevance? What is the importance of the smell of other people's houses? I don't know. I just, honestly, I'm intrigued by the title. It's the main reason why I picked it up, aside from it taking place in Alaska and fitting my prompt. And I'm already intrigued by the book. So that's all I've got for now, and I will come back to you guys when I have another update. I wanted to come on and let you know that I have finished The Smell of Other People's Houses. It was an interesting read. In the beginning, when I was originally talking about it, I wasn't completely sure what was happening or how I was going to enjoy the story. Once we got to about the halfway point, I was still kind of like miffed. I mean, I understood what was happening. Obviously, more events were going on. There were more characters had been introduced and all that, but I just wasn't sure how everything was going to come together. And then I was pleasantly surprised in the ending, the way everything just tied up so nicely. And it's not so much that like everything was tied up in a nice little bow, because obviously a lot of things are happening. There's a lot of open-endedness when it comes to this ending. But it was almost like this was the journey that we were on, and this part of our journey is over. This is where the story ended, and obviously there's going to be more to it after the story is over, but it's just like this was just the pivotal point in the time that we were following. So I did end up giving it 4 stars. I'm the type of person that I love when stories weave together multiple, almost like mini stories, where you have multiple characters doing multiple things in different areas, different parts or times, and then somehow the author manages to weave them all together so that they're all interconnected once you get basically to the center of the story. And then as you get to the end, either they all come together more closely or they go back to their separate ways. I gave it 4 stars. I really did enjoy this one. It was great. I don't have too much to say. It's one of those stories. It kind of was more like a slice of life-ish, because we are really just following a bunch of different people and what's happening. But I would say it's less slice of life in the way that it's not just a mundane, like daily, day-to-day life and things that they're doing. It's like stuff is actually happening to them. You know, there's traumatic and major events going on, and a lot of, you know, we're dealing with grief, we're dealing with heartbreak and regret, and also joy and excitement and, you know, new love and things like that. So there's a lot happening, you know, being tackled in this book, and I thought it was I just thought it was really well done. I gave it 4 stars, and now I'm going to be moving on to The Great Alone by Kristen Hanna, and I'm a little bit intimidated by this book because a lot of people have said that they really loved it, and also it's a little long. So I will update you guys when I have actually started the book, and I'll see you then. So I don't have much of an update on The Great Alone by Kristen Hanna because I am struggling with this book. I'm struggling to even want to read it. I'm not having the best time. It's not anything really by the book. It's just kind of like boring to me right now. We did get a little bit, like, we're getting a little bit more into it. I think I'm about 20% way through because I'm only like 2 or 3 hours into the listen. And thank God I'm listening to this, because if I had to read this with my eyeballs, I would have immediately DNF'd it. This is no, absolutely not. Which a lot of times I find I'm more likely to continue with a book if I am listening to the audiobook. Don't get me wrong, still will DNF an audiobook. But it's a little bit easier for me to kind of like get into it if I'm listening to the audiobook rather than trying to physically read it. Because if I'm trying to physically read it and I'm still bored by page 15, I'm putting the book down. It's over. So my thing is, we're in Alaska now. The family, I can't remember what the mom and dad's name are, but Lenora is our, I guess, main character for the time being. She's the daughter of some very interesting folks. They have just on a whim decided to move on up to Alaska. I believe this is taking place in the 1970s, so I think Alaska has just become a state, like within, the last little while. And like I said before, the tone of the book is very similar to The Smell of Other People's Houses, the other Alaska book I read. But I don't know, I'm having a much harder time pushing through this one. I'm not sure why. I don't know if it's the writing style, if it's just there's not really a whole lot happening. Like, this is very character driven right now. There's not really anything crazy going on. So I don't know. Like, I want to give it a good, try. I want to keep going at least until about the probably 40 to 50% mark. If by 40 or 50% there's nothing, like, I'm not, because right now I could stop reading this book and I would be perfectly fine. Like, I don't really care. There's no anything for me to find out about. I don't really care what happens. Definitely not enough to continue reading. So I'm hoping that soon we're going to get into like some things and I'll become more invested in the characters and the story, anything, so that I can actually want to keep reading this book, because I have sampled another book, The Snow Child. I actually went ahead and checked that out as well, and I don't know, that one is taking place in Alaska in the 1920s, and I don't know if that's going to be a better fit. I also remembered that last night I have an ARC from NetGalley of a book that I'm pretty sure comes out next month. It's Any Trope But You. And I completely forgot that right now, at least, it takes place in Alaska. I can't remember where she's coming from, but she's staying at a retreat, I guess, in Alaska. I don't know. I don't really totally remember everything that's happening, but I know, like, I'm about 12% of the way through, and she's just gotten to the lodging that she's staying in Alaska, and it's definitely a romance. I don't know, it might be good. I think I'm going to, because I'm reading that on the Kindle app, so we'll see. I'm not super compelled by that one either, but it might be a little bit more interesting than The Great Alone. I don't know. We'll just have to see and play it by ear. If nothing else, I'll just only have read one book for Alaska and move on. Obviously, I don't want to do that. I want to have at least read 2 books, but I also feel like the tone of the 2 books that I've chosen, like that I've officially announced, are so similar, and I just find it so weird because it's written by 2 totally different people, probably 2 totally different times. Also, the books are taking place in different time periods. And like I said before, yeah, I get it. I'm reading books that are taking place in the same state, but it's like the tone of these books is so similar, where the tone of the books that I read for Alabama couldn't have been more different. Couldn't have been more different. And I'm wondering if I just need to be very careful and make sure I'm picking two different genres. And that's why I'm thinking maybe I will switch to Any Trope But You. I don't know. I'm just gonna have to read more into both and see what's happening. I have heard nothing but great, like wonderful things about The Great Alone and about Kristen Hanna's writing in general. So I am very curious. I figured this would be a great book to read to get into her since it's such a loved book. And I even recently I've been seeing people writing great reviews on it. So I'm hoping I can get through it soon, but I'm not sure. So that's really all I have for you right now. I know there wasn't really much of an update other than I'm not really loving the book so far. Hopefully I have something more to update you on soon. This is a wonderful angle, but at any rate, so I am about 41% of the way through The Great Alone. I'm still not loving it. Like, and things have happened and I'm still just like, I don't want to read this. Like, I actively don't want to read this book. It's why does everybody love this book? It's like a slice of life but slower. Oh my god. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I am 32% of the way through Any Trope But You, and I'm actually really enjoying that one. So I will give The Great Alone another 5%. And if I'm not loving it by then, listen, I think too, it's like in The Great Alone, like we're obviously just following what's happening with this family and their trials and tribulations and shit. And it's like the dad is a POW back from, I think, Vietnam. And he's got some serious issues, right? He's got some problems. There's abuse happening. There's, you know, Lenny, the daughter, and the wife, I can't remember what her name is, are like terrified to piss him off and do the wrong thing and like upset him in any way. And fair enough, I get it. But also, like, her parents are like trying to be a home for her, and the mom's parents, they tried to help her and tried to get her away, and he went to jail, I think, or I forget something. I don't remember if he went to jail after he came back, but he was gone for quite some time, and her life without him was much improved. And so it's just kind of like, why would you, like, on one hand I get it, okay, I understand loving someone, but at the same time, when you have that opportunity to get out of the situation, girl, get out of the situation, especially because you have a fucking kid. Like, I get it, I know, I understand, it is way easier said than done, I promise you, I understand that, but at some point you have to reach a breaking point, and like there's still physical abuse happening. But with all that said, I'm still not interested. Like, they're doing shit and she's hunting and she hunts, you know, she shoots her first rabbit, and they're like going through these trials and tribulations and stuff, and I still don't care. Like, meanwhile, I'm reading Any Trope But You, and our girl Margot, like, she's there to reinvent herself basically because she is an author, and so something really unfortunate happened while she was back home, and she is on this trip because her sister kind of like sent her so that she can kind of reinvent herself and figure out how she's going to cross over into a new genre of writing. So that's the main reason why she's here. And now her sister has written to like basically the caretaker or the person who's running this retreat, and has asked him for his help to get her to step out of her comfort zone, right? She has written her a series of letters so that every time she does one of these tasks that that the sister has set up for Margot, she can receive a letter basically as like a, you know, words of encouragement and a reward for doing this task, for stepping out of her comfort zone. And the sister, her name is Savannah. She writes to the caretaker, whose name is Forrest. And she tells him, you know, my sister is probably one of the most selfless and strong people you'll ever meet. She really is very kind and considerate. I understand that you probably have one idea of her upon first meeting her, but that's not who she really is. And we have just gone through like the first activity, I guess you could call this, where she goes on a hike. She had no intention of doing anything while she was here, but now because of these letters, she's gonna do it. So she goes on the hike with the group, and she actually ends up spraining her ankle, and so Forrest has to carry her back to the lodge and stuff, but he does give her the letter because, you know, she did go on the hike and whatnot. So far, I am enjoying this book so much more. Like, initially, in the first few chapters, I wasn't really I mean, I shouldn't say that. Because, like, in the first chapter, I was kind of already invested in what's going to happen. And then it lost me for a little bit. But now I'm really starting to get into it. So I'm hoping. My only thing is I don't read as quickly physically, like purely physically reading, as I do, especially because I'm reading on my phone. I'm using the Kindle app. So it takes me a little bit longer. I have a harder time tracking when I'm reading on my phone. So it's going to take me a lot longer, probably twice as long than if I were listening to this on audio. And because this is an ARC, there is not an audiobook of it out yet. I'm sure there's an ARC for the audiobook because I wasn't sure if I was going to read this in time before it came out. So my library has already requested this book on audio, and so I have already put in my hold. But obviously that's not going to come until the book has been published. So that's my only thing, and why I'm a little bit hesitant to read anything purely physical, because if I'm listening to the book and reading it, that's perfectly fine. Like, I read super fast like that. I just have an easier time being able to track the words when someone else is reading them. Even if I'm reading the book out loud, which if I'm trying to really power through a book, I will do. I read a lot faster if I can hear the words audibly, like not just inside my head, as well as have the words in front of me. With this book, I'm reading it in the evenings when my daughter and my husband are asleep. So obviously I'm not going to be reading it out loud to myself because that's really super disruptive. And I kind of don't want to read out loud what's happening in this book, but I am really enjoying it. My only fear is that it's going to take me such a long time to read this, and I'm not like, I need to meet this deadline already. But hopefully we will see how this weekend goes. Like I said, I'm going to give The Great Alone another 9%. That'll put me at 50%. If I'm still not loving the book, once I get to the 50% mark, I'm DNFing it. I'm sorry. I know this is a beloved book. I just don't get it. Honestly, unless something super dramatic or drastic happens soon anyway, this book was never going to get more than 2 stars from me. 3 stars at this point would be pushing it, but it's not going to get any more than that. I am struggling so much through this book that I'm reading other books that I just don't want to read this book. I don't want to read this book. I'm looking for any way to not read this book. Okay, and that's never a good sign. Not only is it making me not want to read that book, it's putting me into a slump where it's like, I don't want to read at all. So now I'm starting to avoid reading in general, and that's not what I want to do because I desperately want to read a lot of books. This is just slowing me down so long, and I feel like I've been reading this book for forever at this point, and I think I've only been reading it since the beginning of the month. I don't even think I've been reading it that long, to be honest with you. Maybe 2 or 3 weeks, maybe at the most 3 weeks. So, and I just can't, like, I'm listening to it a couple hours at a time and I'm not getting anywhere. The other day I listened to about 3 or 4 hours of it, and I'm listening to it on 1.75. That's as fast as I can listen to it without having the book in front of me. I have read 2 or 3 other books in the meantime while I've been listening to this, and I just don't care about this book. I don't care, and it's starting to turn into an actual hatred. So we'll give it 50%. If at 50% it's not there, by Kristen Hanna, DNF. I have a physical copy of The Nightingale, so I will give her another chance with The Nightingale because that's, I've heard, one of her best books. But like I said, I'm hesitant because I also heard really great things about The Great Unknown, and I'm hating my life reading this book. So I hope to have an update with you soon where I can tell you that I've either chosen to DNF the grade alone, or it's gotten really great, or we're just gonna be reading any trope but you, because this limbo is just, it's not it. So I'll see you with my next update. Guys, I have not updated you in so long. It's been 1 week since you looked at me. No, it's been much longer than that. So we had to pivot because the grade alone was not happening. Okay, that book put me into a freaking reading slump, which is why, hello, it's now April. It's not April and we've only completed 2 freaking states. So I did finally finish my other Alaska book. It ended up being Any Trope But You. For the life of me, I can't remember who it is. You know, I will have put it in a card. Normally I put it up on the screen, but for the for this little challenge type video that I'm trying to film, I just have been putting it in the card before this. I don't know, like, I've been working on some other stuff and like it's getting a little complicated, and I don't want to stop making my reading stuff because that's where my heart is, guys. Like, I freaking love coming on here and talking to you. Anyway, all that to say, Any Trope But You was a 5-star. It was so good. Like, it didn't make me cry, but I was tearing up. It was very well written. So it is about, it technically, the majority of the book is set in Alaska, but it also does happen a little bit in like the LA, San Francisco area. We are starting off with this author, and like this huge thing happens. This huge like cataclysmic thing happens, and her sister ends up sending her away to Alaska on a retreat, and like to kind of like reinvent herself and just get to know herself, and she's going to try and write a new manuscript and step out of the romance genre, which she has been exclusively writing in, and write, I think she's supposed to be writing a mystery. So she, like, we get to Alaska with her, and like she meets the caretaker, and immediately they don't like each other. It's definitely like an enemies to lovers. I wouldn't say that they were necessarily enemies. They just didn't, you know, get along at first, supposedly. And then things start to happen. And it's so good. It's really so good. Like, it's so cute and sweet and spicy out of nowhere. Like, I didn't expect it to be so spicy. But I was very happy. And also very happy because even though I didn't finish it until after it released, I did get the arc from NetGalley. And that's how I was able to read this book. It was from NetGalley, so thank you to NetGalley for the free arc, because it was really good. I want to go buy a physical copy because there's some stuff that like I highlighted on my Kindle app, and I want to highlight in the book because it was really good. It was a really great read. Like I said, the writing was so well done. The whole story, it was good. Like, I was on the edge of my seat. I was tense. I was sad. I was mad. You know what I mean? I was like really feeling what the characters were feeling, and it was really so good. It was such a good read, such a great way to start off the month of April, which also is my anniversary month. April is, I don't think I started uploading on YouTube in April, but April is when I made my Bookstagram account. It's when I joined the book community on socials and stuff. And yeah, so this month is very special to me for a few reasons. My husband's birthday is also this month. It's actually today when I'm filming this. I have a few minutes while he's going and doing stuff. It's just a great way to kick off the month. And a great way to get me out of the slump. In the background, I've also been reading other books that I might talk about at some point in a reading vlog. I don't know. I feel like I haven't been talking to you guys as much because I've just been trying to focus on my state books And so I haven't really done a regular reading vlog outside of that to talk about other books. I think I might, I don't know, because I'm so behind on the state challenge. I really just want to do that. I'm also behind on using my reading journal. I haven't even showed you guys my reading journal yet, and it's April. Like, I haven't even finished setting it up because I want to do it with you guys. Like, I have all the pencil markings and stuff, but I wanted to film a little video for you guys. Here we are in April. So hopefully this month I can get a lot of that stuff done, and you know, we can wrap up this month on a good note ahead. But yeah, so that's going to end this Alaska vlog that took entirely too long and probably still won't go out for, oh wait, actually today is Sunday, so maybe I can edit it tonight and actually have a video up for you guys tomorrow. That would be amazing. So thank you guys as always for watching. I'm sorry that this video, this vlog was like all over the place and very chaotic. Sometimes life is like that. I apologize. We're doing what we can here. But yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed it, such that it was. Hope you'll consider subscribing if you want to see more reading content and things from me. And until then, I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!